A good midday Friday to you, Roger Hill of Wuthering Heights. This weather video is driven by 802cars.com, representing 802 Toyota, Twin City Subaru, 802 Honda, all located off of exit 7 on Interstate 89. And on the weather map this morning, we have area of low pressure departing out into the open Atlantic. That is the storm system that brought us some decent amounts of snow. We're seeing as much as 10, 11 inches in some of the higher spots. Namely, Orange County and right along the I-89 corridor seems to be a hot spot. We have this trough of lower pressure associated with this area of low pressure here that's pulling away. Now to the north, we also have the below zero temperatures. This is continuing to come over the top of this ridge of higher pressure. This ridge of higher pressure is also interacting with the storm system with this trough that's moving in. This is our next snowfall. It's going to be running into some of these very cold temperatures here, so it will be pristine snow. The interesting thing is that during the snowfall, though, we'll start out with very fluffy conditions in terms of snowfall, probably something like 20 to 1, and then it'll probably end up somewhere around 10 to 12 to 1 on Sunday toward the tail end of the storm system that will begin to push into the region. And you can see just how warm it is off to the south, very cold to the north. We've got the baroclinic zone here and so forth, and again, a lot of jet stream energy associated here, spinning up this surface area of low pressure. Looking at the European model here, and as we run it over time, you can see that 1042 hectopascal surface area of higher pressure just about right smack dab overhead of Vermont. That is going to guard us through most of the day on Saturday. It'll be late in the day we start to see that precipitation begin to work in. And of course, this is associated with our next system that's moving in. This area of low pressure 997, not really super strong, but that's a pretty good surge of moisture. That's going to be running into a lot of cold air, so we have isentropic lifting. It's lifting over the, it's acting like a mountain range, the colder air, so this is ascent and rising. So this is important because it will produce some snow starting Saturday night, really late in the day on Saturday, continuing Saturday night into Sunday. It looks like some moderate snowfall amounts, probably a little better across our southern counties. Latest indications are that this system could be very similar to the one we just had, but it looks like QPF numbers, total precipitation numbers, are down from what we just had. So this might be just a little bit less now as it's looking. The system itself, you can see the dry slot kind of works on through as a transfer 93 hectopascal off the Gulf of Maine through Nova Scotia, and just leftover flurries and mountain snow showers for most of the day. Later in the day on Sunday and continuing into Sunday night and Monday morning, and then eventually all of this dries up and we have a pretty sprawling high pressure system, 1045 hectopascal. This is anti-cyclone that's going to be working on through, so it is going to give us looks like a few days of dry weather. That big area of higher pressure will continue to just keep us dry, and it looks like this will last, as a matter of fact, for most of next week. If I could show it to you. Quick look at the climate reanalyzer. What we can see here is a lot of cold weather on the west coast of Canada, the east coast of Canada, including it dipped in, of course, into our neck of the woods, and this is part of that air mass that was displaced off of Alaska. And you can see it's warm up here in the western parts of the Arctic area, and across Siberia and so forth, and really a lot of warm spots, and again, it's North America, occasionally into parts of Eurasia. But looking at the GFS ensemble centered on Montpelier, Vermont, you can see this is our next incoming storm system that is going to produce mainly all snow. And a little bit of a double take here. It looks like the main event and then something to follow it. But needless to say, this would be during the day on Sunday. And then things begin to dry out. There's a little potential of a flurry or something there. But for the most part, we're looking at better conditions behind it as well. So looking at the total amount of QPF, we're talking about under 5/10, a half inch of total QPF. And precipitation type, it's going to remain all snow. Amount of snow forecast, again, this is centered on Montpelier, looking at generally around 4 to 5 inches, and that's a very good match, by the way, to the European model. Looking at wind issues in terms of 850 hectopascals. Nothing real serious there. It remains under 50 knots. That's a good sign. Typically when I see winds over 50 knots, a low-level jet, this is about the top of Mount Mansfield, we have a tendency to see strong gradient winds. Anything less than 50 knots in general is less. So we're looking good right now. What about 2-meter temperatures? Well, this is how our temperatures are shaking out. This is today's high on this Friday. This is the low tonight, Saturday, and then overnight Saturday night into Sunday. We have this rise in temperature, which is a little bit different than most storms that we see. We're starting out with a lot of fluff factor. Eventually, it looks like temperatures warm up aloft and surface, so much so that we hit 32 degrees, maybe 33 degrees. And there's really good agreement right now with the GFS ensemble as well as the European ensemble and the European deterministic model. So temperatures then fall behind that system, and the GFS ensemble here is really going nuts for very cold temperatures, of course colder than what we're seeing here. The European has this basically opposite, but we then step ladder back up later. Total QPF, this is not going to be a big shot. Our storm systems are a little bit discombobulated. It looks like we lose a lot of precipitation here. The blue is basically just 1 inch and ½ inch here. So again, even though we have a snowfall coming, it's going to be a fluffer for the most part with not as much QPF. Max temperatures the next 5 days look like this, running about 6 degrees below normal, weighted. And then about 3 days later, it looks like about like this. Running still about 6 degrees below normal, maybe 3 to 6 degrees. A little bit of a warm up in the northern areas. A chinook will kick in, start to displace that colder air. It's going to be moving on out, and we'll see a warm up with this next setup. And again, that's what we just saw with the European ensemble and the GFS ensemble. Snow on the ground. This is what the GFS ensemble looks like. Climate Reanalyzer looks like right now. And let's compare notes on how we're doing North America and Eurasia and Northern Hemispheric snows. So here's where we stand at the Northern Hemisphere right now. We're a little bit below average. We had been very below average, and we've caught up a little bit with this uptick. And that's all of the Northern Hemisphere. So which hemisphere or which continent has been doing the job? About average here. So far, and then looking at Eurasia, below average. So we're kind of nothing major to show you here, just kind of where we are in terms of this snapshot. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights. Thanks for watching.